Hello there, I'm going to be talking about live streaming, and by the end of this video you should be aware of the technology that's available and the resources to help your assembly manage online streaming better. So why me? Why am I talking about this particularly? Well, I'm a church consultant. I also am a consumer, so I'm looking for streaming services, or have been, and I am the host of a podcast which interviews lots of different experts, including streaming, social media, website experts who know a lot of information about this subject. So I've gathered this information on your behalf. Now, timing for a review, beginning of January, and it's time to ask ourselves, are we only focused on engaging our own congregation or people with no or little faith? Now, we all recognize the word Zoom now, but there's also Google Meet and Microsoft Teams, and they work very similarly. And pastors who I've spoken to or work with are mainly using these platforms for their own congregation. Now, Zoom's relatively easy to use, it's inexpensive, and if you use the premium version, you can actually get access to other platforms like YouTube and Facebook. Google Meet is also on Google Mail if you have Google Mail. And I would say that all these platforms have been built for business conferencing, not for the church. And that's why sometimes we've been having challenges. Also, there's been a decreased engagement since the pandemic on these platforms, but I don't think it's necessarily the platform, but possibly the way we are using it. People don't always want to see themselves on camera. There might be technical issues, and I feel that Microsoft Teams is not really as intuitive as the other two. Now, if we want to get people of no faith or little faith, reach them, how do we do that? Because it won't be through your Zoom, Google Meet, or Microsoft Teams meeting unless those people have a link or a code. So what do? You need to reach them where they are. Supermarkets have or supply their products in different places, and people go to different places in order to get what they want. It's the same online. People will go to LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and all the other platforms in order to get what they want. So we need to be in as many places as possible. And to do that, we need multi-streaming. What is it and why do we use it and how? Well, we can't go through the how, but I can tell you there are a huge amount of these platforms. They're called multi-streaming platforms, and they enable you to link to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and even Zoom simultaneously. They're called third-party streaming services, and two examples here are OBS and StreamYard. StreamYard being much more user-friendly than OBS, but the difference is one's free and one has a subscription. But there are many others which I can't go into in this video, but check it out online, third-party streaming services. So the pros and the cons is you can broadcast live. Yes, it's a pro and it's a con, because if you're not prepared, then you might get things wrong, and going live can't be undone. But you can also pre-schedule your videos with these sorts of platforms, and generally they're much more stable than if you go direct to Facebook, YouTube, etc. There are subscriptions costs, and they might be more complex ones than others. Testing really is the only way to go. But next time I'm going to be talking about streaming services for the church that was specifically designed for the church. Look out for me and the podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And that's the Healthy Church Growth Show podcast. Comes out every Monday from the 24th of January.